Hello everyone, and welcome to this review of Aces and Armor by PKB Games. As I always do, I point out the things that I like using green dice, the things I like a bit less using red dice, and the things that are missing in action, so things that could have been there but aren't, or at least not yet, using a yellow or ochre or golden dice. So let's start with the good things. And well, the first good thing is the quality of the miniatures. I think they're really outstanding. For instance, look at this German half-track. It even has personnel inside, and that's really something I haven't seen before in this type of game. So I think that's really fantastic. Also, the Stuka, it's actually diving towards its target. The tiger looks great. So the miniatures are absolutely fantastic. I have to admit, whenever I see a game on Kickstarter that has great looking miniatures, I don't even look as critically at the actual gameplay as much, because it's just difficult to say no to great looking miniatures, and it certainly was in this case. And yeah, they're absolutely amazing. Secondly, and this one is just for the entire map, note that there's a countryside summer type of terrain on the back of it, and I think it looks gorgeous. It's really a very lovely looking map. The mountains as well, I think they really look great. So really great graphics, really great map. Miniatures, as I already said, actually all the components, they're really top notch. Yeah, what I also like, and at the same time it's a dislike, and I'll cover them both at once. You use these small beads to denote damage done to a unit. So every time a unit suffers damage, you add one or more of these gray beads, and whenever they inflict damage on an enemy unit, you add these white, yellow, and red beads, respectively, showing the experience the unit has, and the more experience it has, the lower the die, the higher the die roll. The lower the die roll needs to be. No, that's not true. Actually, well, I mean, you can see it over here. For instance, this mobile infantry, normally it would hit on a 2 or less, and if it's upgraded, so if it has gained experience, so as to receive a yellow bead, it hits on a 4 or less, and should it ever get a red one, it hits on a 6 or less, so it gets more effective. And yeah, so that works fine. What I don't like about it, these things are really pretty fiddly. Many people call this a beer and pretzels type of game. I think it is. It's really not very difficult to get into. You need to get a few rules straight, but it's really a very simple game. But I do think that if you've actually had a few beers, and even without that, you will definitely be dropping some of these beads. I've actually had that happen to myself as well here, and then you're looking, all across the floor to find it again, which I managed to do in the end. But yeah, it's really quite fiddly. The designer himself said they tried many different ways, and this was the one that worked best. Well, yeah, I can imagine that if you try to fit many tokens in these small hexes, they're really quite small, that wouldn't really work either. And yeah, it works fine, but yeah, I do think that you might lose a beat or two. Is that the end of the world? No, but I just like to keep my games complete. So I spent a lot of time looking for these beads all over the floor to find them again. Another thing I like is the factory overlays, because you can see the factories here on the board as well. Now the camera is automatically zooming in. But yeah, if you look at it from far away, and if you pretend that you don't know where it is, then they're actually quite difficult to spot. So these overlays that are provided with the game, yeah, they really make it much easier to spot these factories, and the factories are basically the objectives you need to take in this game. Yeah, and I suppose you could even theoretically place them elsewhere on the board if you want to design a scenario of your own or something like that. Here, this is one of the player aids, and it tells you how many dice you roll depending on the damage you've suffered, your unit has suffered. So a unit at full strength will roll 12 dice. A unit, for instance, that has 4 damage will roll 7 dice. And a unit that has suffered 5 damage will roll only 5 dice. So it will become less effective as its damage increases. What I also like, and I already said that I like the components in general, but I just wanted to single out the player aids, the unit cards. Top notch again, really great drawings, pictures. Yeah, I really think they capture the feel very well, and they just look gorgeous. So yeah, nothing bad to say about that. And the final thing that I really like a lot is that you have a 4-player game, which is basically the standard game, a 2-player game, but also solo and cooperative rules. I've dabbled around a bit with the solo rules, and usually I just play both sides to the best of my ability, which I ended up doing here as well, because it slows down gameplay a lot, because you have to look at these, at the order of things in which you have to do things. I did try it for a while, and it does look, intuitive in the sense, intuitive is perhaps not the right word, but it does make realistic moves, and it does give you realistic orders in the sense that you would probably do that as an experienced human player as well. For instance, you attack the unit that is likely to capture a factory, or the unit that you can actually destroy, or in case multiple units are equally eligible to be attacked, then you pick the more expensive one, etc. So yeah, that looks good. I like it. Excuse me. So now let's move on to the things that I like a bit less. First of all, the terrain, and I don't mean the way the terrain looks, but funnily enough, and maybe that's because I'm used to playing somewhat more involved war games and even miniature games, the only terrain type that actually has an effect is forest, and everything else, well, except roads, that's a different terrain type as well for movement purposes. Villages, for instance, don't do anything, just clear terrain. Same goes for mountains, even though I do have to admit, there's an optional rule which makes movement through mountains more difficult. Tanks can't move into them at all, and artillery gets a longer range if they're positioned in mountains. But that's an optional rule. And in the standard rules, yeah, as I said, you have clear terrain, you have road terrain, and you have forests, and that's it. And well, for the unit cards, it wouldn't have been very difficult to simply say, well, to put these other symbols here as well, or even just put the forest symbol and say that this goes for villages and mountains as well. But they decided not to. Yeah, I don't know. Takes some getting used to, I suppose. And yeah, game-wise, it works fine, but it just feels a bit weird to me. Well, I already covered this red die. Yeah, something else. The units are really pretty generic. As you can see, a Sherman, well, the difference between a Sherman and a Panther here, for instance, a Panther does hit slightly better. It hits on a 6 or less, whereas a Sherman, normally speaking, hits on a 5 or less, as you can see here. But yeah, damage works the same. It's 221, 642, 863, 1194. And if you look at that Panther column, it's exactly the same. So it doesn't have any thicker armor or anything like that than the Sherman. It does cost a little bit more, but that's simply, it actually costs the same as well. Movement is the same as well. It does hit a little bit better, but that's really it. And that goes for many other units as well. For instance, if you look at this machine gunner, it has a move of 3. It's a bit difficult to see, but it has a move of 3 and fires at a 2 or less. Regular infantry also has a move of 3 and fires at a 2 or less. It might have been nice if to differentiate a bit more between the factions as well. If the machine gunner had been able to move 2 only, but perhaps hit on a 3 or less or something, would have been more fun and would have made more sense to me, I think, And those things always happen, that you think that certain units should have had a slightly higher value or a slightly lower value, whatever. But yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity here to differentiate a bit more between the tank units and the infantry units. I mean, it's quite well possible that they tried it out in the design and that made the game less balanced, perhaps. I haven't played it enough to be able to say that, and that might be a reasonable explanation for it. Um, but yeah, all units, they look different, but they feel the same-ish. Not all of them, by the way. The artillery, funnily enough, is quite different. The American howitzer, for instance, can hit any unit between 2 and 5 hexes away. The Pack 40 between 1 and 3. And the 88 millimeter flak, well, 2 or 3 if it hits, if it targets a land unit, and between 1 and 4 if it targets an air unit. And the Katyusha, the Russian one, which I didn't show here, can actually hit in a circle of hexagons around the target. So there you do have some variety, which is very nice if you ask me. Yeah, and finally, yeah, this one is just to remind me about a general comment about the game itself. I don't really feel, apart from the miniatures and everything, that I'm playing a World War II game. I mean, the miniatures are World War II miniatures, and so obviously are the unit cards. But other than that, yeah, I feel you might have been playing with any type of miniatures or even blocks or counters or whatever. It doesn't really evoke the World War II feel in me. And obviously it's a game, I know that. I'm not trying to say that I really want to have the World War II feel, of course not. I don't think anybody would. But yeah, it just doesn't feel really realistic. Also, all the units, except for artillery, have a range of 1, so you always have to be adjacent to a unit in order to attack it. So it's kind of like a game of chess or something like that. Where do you put which piece, and who do you attack with that particular piece? Some pieces can't hit air units, for instance. So with bombers, you would usually want to attack artillery or tanks, which can fight back either. So that's fun enough. But again, as I said, it doesn't really feel like World War II to me. Even a game such as Memoir 44, due to some special rules or whatever, I happen to be playing a particular scenario again tomorrow. What's it called again? Nach Moscow, it's called. It's a Memoir 44 scenario from the Breakthrough expansion, and has a few special rules. But I have the idea that, of course, within the realm of reality and everything, and that you're from everything I've read about that battle, just with a few special rules, that the Germans can actually suffer from frostbite and lose some material like that, and the weather, which has an effect in that particular scenario. It makes me feel like I'm playing that battle, albeit with very simple rules. And I have nothing against simple rules, don't get me wrong. I actually, in a way, like them, because all too often I find myself reading the rule book, looking for the rules, the clarifications, going all over Board Game Geek to find the right answers to the questions I have about the game. And if you just have a very simple game, of course you always have to learn the rules, but then if you can just start playing and focus on that, that's in itself a very good thing. But yeah, with this game, as I said, I just don't really feel like I'm playing World War II. Yeah, what else do we have? Well, I already covered that. Yeah, that was actually the last point about what I didn't like very much about the game. Now, a couple of things that are missing in action. There are 2 German factions, just like in Company of Heroes, which is in some ways comparable to this game. Company of Heroes is more involved, more complicated, also more fun to me. The reason I got into that game was the very same one. I bought this one because it just had great looking miniatures, and then I set it up with a friend and we started playing it, and I was actually hugely and pleasantly surprised that the game was actually so much fun. And with this one, well, I have to admit that I enjoyed playing the Battle of the Bulge scenario. That one was fun, and if you have a few more units, it also feels more satisfying than when you have just very few. But yeah, overall, Company of Heroes to me is really by far the better game. Well, having said that, why do we have this die here? Because there are two German factions, but no British, no Japanese, no Italians. Um, well, the British are actually coming in an upcoming expansion that has already been announced. Spitfire, it's called. But no Italians or Japanese. I asked about it, and the designer said, and I can actually, understand that. He said that many of the play testers wanted to play with all the German goodies. I mean, they had the big badass tanks and everything, and people just wanted to play with those rather than with Italian units or Japanese units. Well, who knows? Maybe in an expansion. Maybe Italians will be part of the Spitfire expansion, which will feature the Battle of Britain and North Africa. So, as far as North Africa goes, I can certainly imagine that the Italians would feature there too, and the Japanese, maybe one day there'll be a Pacific expansion. Um, yeah, and also something that I find to be missing in action, rule wise, that is, um, units do roll fewer dice as they get damaged, but nothing happens to their movement. It just stays the same. So I guess there's always some kind of, yeah, I don't know, maybe if you move less well, then you're less effective in battle. But yeah, if you can only, I mean, if a tank has a track shut off, then it won't be moving at all, and it might be firing just fine. But yeah, maybe that's just not what this game is meant to be. But yeah, I found any penalties to movement missing. The only penalties you ever suffer are the ones to firepower. So, all in all, yeah, well, what do I think of this game? Great looking components, and if only for that reason, I will certainly play it again. I'm actually planning on playing it with a friend in 1.5 weeks or so. Well, actually, in a week. And I'm curious to find out what he thinks of the game. At the same time, as so many other games I enjoy more, or games that I haven't even played yet that are in my closet. I think we all know that feeling. Um, Other than that, I don't think that this will be my number one choice of game to get back on the table if I have other ones available, such as Company of Heroes, Conflict of Heroes, which is not with miniatures, but it doesn't matter. Axis and Allies miniatures, Tide of Iron, yeah, different games. Memoir 44, definitely different. They're not the same, but game wise, and in the sense that, I really like playing games in which I get the feeling of that particular battle, and that you're faced with the decisions the commanders had to take, etc. And I don't really get this feeling in this game. So even though there are definitely a couple of good things about this game, and production quality is just top notch, and the designer has been extremely helpful. I had a couple of damaged pieces, and I got replacement pieces, well, within a week or so. So all that is great, Um, but yeah, to my personal liking, there are other games I like more. So yeah, that sums up my review of Aces in Armor. I hope you've enjoyed, and see you on the next one.